Well, it's been a year since the July Unrest, and Newzroom Afrika is on the ground for you to see what has changed. Katlego Legodi is in Maboneng in Johannesburg, and Ahmed Kajee is in Jeppestown, also in Johannesburg. And as we mark a year since the July Unrest, various businesses are yet to recover. However, the sentiment at the time was linked to various factors within the political and social sphere. Ahmed Kajee is in Jeppestown, as we mentioned. Talk us through what it is that you are seeing and hearing. Unfortunately, like a phoenix, some businesses are not able to rise.
Yes, very much so. The sentiment over here is still one of hardship following the unrest which we had seen in July last year. I mean, some of those businesses which we had seen an hour ago still have not recovered, and I mean, I'll just show you one of these currently as well. What had happened during that particular time in last July was many of these dealerships had cars in them. And what had then taken place is these gates would then be more or less destroyed, taken down, and every car from this particular garage at the time last year was in this particular area was either burned or it was then taken to areas in and around the community. More often than not, perhaps towards the community down that particular road towards the Cleveland area, and that's where this particular, that's when these vehicles would then be either sold for scrap parts or perhaps used to transport across other parts of the community as well. In terms of the sentiment at the time from the community, a big part of it was linked to the arrest of former President Jacob Zuma, but the main theme at the time was the removal for the ban on the sale of alcohol, and then also businesses which were apparently employing foreign nationals. These were some of the major concerns and sentiments at the time from the community as well. But looking at a year later, the communities are still trying to recover from the disastrous effects of businesses closing, and I'm going to bring into the conversation a resident now from the community. Tankiso, thanks very much for your time. How has last year's unrest impacted you?
Okay, me specifically, like, it affected me badly because a lot of people lost their jobs. And then a lot of businesses had no choice but then to shut down, and then the community at large was not safe because a lot of people came out to turn out to be things that they are not. They became robbers, and then the prices of the goods went up. That's all I can say.
For you personally, and feel free to speak in your language as well, how has that impacted you? And looking at it a year later, from an emotional point of view, with us being a year later, how has that impacted you?
Okay, let me speak my vernacular. In affectile hampe nna ke le one because batho ba bangata ba ile ba lahlelwa ke mosebetsi, di businesses tsa kwalwa, and then ha e kwalwa dintho tsa change mona around le di shop tsene di le teng batho ene re ba tlwaetse ba le friendly towards us, le bona ba ile ba change ba tloa kena batho ba bang, then we had to start a new or fresh relationship le bona. So in affectile bad, and then how sa le safe hape more around.
And then, have you heard anything on the ground recently? Do you think there will be another repeat of what we had seen last year, or are you hoping that the police will not allow for that to happen?
So far, I can't soka kutwa nixo or tabali anything it like Sahala, but then I was hard to lay, and then I saw any changes to be linked more around.
Thank you, so thanks very much for your time today. That's Tankiso Mokhatla. He is a resident here in Jeppestown, just giving us his thoughts on the impact that the unrest last year has had. He's saying obviously the price of commodities has increased, and he's hoping that the safety within the area will continue to at least be revisited, and in some way or form some stability will be restored to this area following last year's unrest. Dudu.
So that's the picture in Jeppestown. Let's see what's happening in Maboneng in Johannesburg, and that's where we find Katlego Legodi. And it doesn't help, Katlego, that as businesses are trying to recover from last year, load shedding is also setting them back.
Most definitely, Dudu. It's already a hive of activity here in Maboneng in the city of Johannesburg. But I must tell you that the business owners and those that operate around this area on Main Street particularly, they're telling us that things are not the same. It's been 2 years of COVID-19 coupled with load shedding. The July unrest also happened, and this has seen patrons also just taking their time in terms of thinking about coming here to just feast or mingle with their loved ones. The July unrest saw a whole lot of establishments here on the ground really decimated. A lot of them vandalized and attacked during that period. And what business owners are telling us here is that what they're calling for, Dudu, is an increased police visibility. They're saying that they're calling for a joint and coordinated efforts between private security and the police here, just to ensure that even as we anticipate, or even as we more or less are working towards just preventing the July unrest from happening again, they are safeguarding their properties. But I'm going to bring into the conversation now Bertrand Mampuya. He is the owner of Bertrand Cafe here in Maboneng, who was just letting us in on the issue of security. Bertrand, you're saying to us that, it's high time that, there's increased and visible policing in this area to avoid a repeat of what happened in July last year. Just let us in on your concerns.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity that you gave me. I think in regard of security in Maboneng, I always say we 2 minutes or 1 minute away from a police station. And where we are here is a place of tourists. Maboneng is a place of tourists. So I think a police visibility will definitely be something that we need to think about, because as we speak now, we don't see much of police visibility. I would even suggest for them to put a kiosk, maybe 2 kiosks, from the beginning of the street and the end of the street. That will really help.
July unrest happened, and a lot of businesses are picking up the pieces. Maybe just let us in on how you were affected as Bertrand.
Yeah, we were very much affected. I mean, you know what happened. Actually, I come from Congo. I know what is load shedding, and I see how it destroyed my country. And this is a serious issue. So we, as owners, as business owners here, we are really in a very bad situation with this load shedding.
Have you had to do things differently? I mean, there's load shedding, there's more or less concerns around a repeat of the July unrest if measures are not put in place, and also the issue of high cost of living in the country right now. Have you had to adjust the way you do things as a business? Have you had to lay off some of the people that are under you and they work under you? How has that worked for you?
It's a movement. It's a movement. I think this is happening. It's a global thing. We've seen the rise of the petrol price. We've seen that the rise of food cost, food items. So we also try to adjust as a business owner. I try to adjust also on my pricing. I try to adjust also with people that are working with me also, because also it's like a circle. Everybody is affected about it.
And lastly, what would be a message then to patrons, or those people that maybe are still scared of coming to this area, and international tourists that come into South Africa and they are scared of visiting this area because of what happened last year through the July unrest and all of those challenges coupled with load shedding and all? What would you say to some of those patrons that are fans of Bertrand's Cafe?
Oh yes, I would love them to come back. I think this thing happened and we learn about it. And I'm sure also the officials are taking measures accordingly. So what I would say is to bring back those people. They must come back. I think, as I say, measures have been put in place from the government, from us as a community in Maboneng. Maboneng never died. We're still kicking. As you know, Maboneng is one of the most visited places for tourists in the world.
Bertrand Mampuya, thank you very much for your time, sir. That is the owner of a Bertrand Cafe, Bertrand Mampuya, who was just letting us in on the situation on the ground. You can imagine a whole lot of businesses are trying to pick up the pieces. Some of them have had to change the way they do things. There are challenges around issues of electricity and just the issues of security, and they're calling for increased police visibility and a joint coordination between private security and the police so that this area can be safeguarded. It is a local economic economic hub here in Gauteng, and they are, more or less hopeful that, those interventions will go a long way in safeguarding the lives of those that visit this area and safeguarding their businesses and establishments that have been decimated and have been destroyed by the July unrest. Dudu?
Katlego Legodi in Maboneng and Ahmed Kajee in Jeppestown. Thank you.